Limousine service. I'm third generation owner of Harrington Limousine Service, where we provide anywhere, anytime, peace of mind, ground transportation. One of the things that I want to tell you is that the way we do things, which is that not only do we make sure that it's clean, the vehicle is clean on the outside, it's clean on the inside, we take great pride in making sure that the vehicle is disinfected prior to you getting in the car. So once it's all clean and done, it's, the doors are closed, and the only person that sees it next is you, the traveler. Our chauffeurs are trained in how to clean in between trips. They also wear their masks, their gloves. Their temperature is taken every day when they report to work. There's a partition between the chauffeur and the passenger in all our vehicles so that it gives you that extra level of peace of mind. So a little bit about us, and then go forward to tell you what we're doing this evening. And we're going to do this every Tuesday evening, so hopefully you'll join us next week as we invite somebody else. Tonight, we're going to invite one of my fellow BNI members. Now, I'm a member of BNI, and I love doing what I do, and I love the networking that we do. And there's a good group of individuals that I meet with every week. Now, we used to meet in person before the pandemic, and now that the pandemic is here and kind of restricting our engagement, personal engagement, we still feel the need to get ourselves familiar with each other and other businesses so that we can still be the go-to person for our friends, family, co-workers, whoever, so that we have the right people in place. The only way to do that is when you meet somebody every week and you get to be more familiar with them, understand what they do, how they can help. And really that's what it's about, helping each other in one way or another. So every week I'm going to take one of the members from the BNI chapter that I belong to. It's the BNI Founders, which meets in Woodbridge, but now we're meeting virtually. So we still do it virtually so that we can get to be more familiar with each other and know how to help each other, and then obviously help our friends and family and coworkers and so forth. So I'd like to introduce, if I may, Dan Burton, or Daniel Burton. He's an attorney with Lawrence Law, and devotes his entire practice to matrimonial and family law matters in the state of New Jersey. Prior to entering private practice, Dan served as a Judicial Law Clerk for the retired Honorable Eugene A. Iadanza for the Superior Court of New Jersey, Family Division, and Monmouth County. Dan received his undergraduate degree from Duquesne University and his law degree from Widener University School of Law. So with that, I'd like to bring Dan on, and so that he can tell you a little bit. I want him to tell you a little bit about himself, and then we have a few questions and we want to go back and forth. So Dan, welcome to our Facebook Live, one of many.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. So tell us a little bit about yourself, and how did you get into law? Such a tough profession.
That it certainly is. Getting into law was kind of an interesting story for me. I don't come from a long line of attorneys in my family. In fact, I'm the only attorney in my family that I know of. So it wasn't anything like that, and it wasn't anything like I knew from the age of 6 that I wanted to be an attorney. It kind of just happened, naturally as I went through schooling, and it didn't really become a real option for me until I was almost halfway done with college. And I was looking at the real world, and I wanted to push the real world off for a couple more years. And I didn't realize it was going to cost me as much as it did. But, I'm thankful that I made that decision when I did, because everything that I have in my life and in my professional career now, it has, it stems from that decision. So it was kind of something that happened very naturally over the course of time. Law was something that I was always interested in, but it wasn't really until I got to college that it became a real option for me.
Well, very interesting. So tell me, what is your personal preference between litigation and alternative dispute resolution methods? That was a mouthful.
So essentially, the difference between the two is essentially how you handle a case. And in the family law world, you know, I'm a firm believer that all cases should be resolved at some point in time or another. And in fact, most cases do end up getting resolved, you know, one way or another. There are a very few number of cases that need to be litigated and go to trial. And I'm prepared to do whatever each individual case requires. My preference is to resolve it because it's the more efficient way to do it. It's the more cost-effective way to do it for the client, and most importantly, it's the best thing for the family that is now breaking up and dissolving, especially if there's children involved. And the sooner you can get these people to their amicable resolution, the better it is for everyone, and most importantly for the children.
Good answer. So, going on with some of the questions that we have here ready.
Yeah.
Tell me how is this new normal, the new economy, affecting your business? Does it affect it really? Does it increase it because we're in tight quarters and there's more divorce, more family disputes, things of that nature? Do you see that on a uptick kind of thing? And
that's a great question. I'm going to kind of break it down into two categories, because when this all kind of first started, it absolutely increased a volume of cases and a volume of conflict. And I'm not entirely sure whether or not that was just a product of the mass confusion that was going on, in addition to just normal conflict that arrives in these types of cases. But one of the things that I was very cognizant of was that we had litigants trying to figure it out, we had attorneys trying to figure it out, and we had the court system all trying to figure it out at the same time. It was a very unprecedented times, trying to take, move court matters along with the courts being closed. And they still, for the most part, remain closed except for virtually. So once they're got a handle on that, it seems like the conflict, quote unquote, has died down a little bit. But at the initial stage, it was incredible amounts of volume, just because there were so many issues that were directly impacted. The primary one being custody and parenting time disputes. I mean, that became a hot button issue because you had parents that didn't know what was best for their kids, as far as back and forth to mom and dad's house. Where do we transfer? What exposure does that involve? All these things, and it was a very confusing time as well, because it was just so unprecedented. Nobody had really gone through something like that. As far as, kind of now that things have settled down a little bit, I see the conflict has kind of, gotten back to a quote unquote more normal level. But I mean, as far as my day-to-day goes, I mean, a whole lot didn't really change. I mean, the only real big thing that changed is I work primarily from this office here at my house now, instead of driving to the physical office where my firm is. Because I'm lucky to be in a business and in a practice where I can do 95% of my job anywhere. I mean, the technology that's available nowadays is incredible. And I've actually been able to increase my workday, so to speak, because I'm not using that 2 hours or so driving back and forth.
Right.
So and I'm not driving to and from courthouses all across the state. So for the most part, I mean, all the changes have been relatively positive. And you kind of just have to go roll with the punches, so to speak, and because everybody's dealing with the same thing. So I have seen a lot of camaraderie with my colleagues who are obviously all going through the same thing as well. And I think it really shed some light on putting or realizing that this is our our career choice, our job choice, but there's bigger things out there than work sometimes, and I think this helps bring that to light.
Dan, do you see yourself? I mean, a lot of people that have been forced to work from home, like yourself, and many other people are that used to go that 9 to 5 job or whatever kind of job where they had to go someplace and so forth, and they are now managing to work from home. Uh, and some of them are actually liking it. I mean, they're saying, "Oh my God, this is so much easier." Just like you said, no more commute. You're not going all over the place. Do you think this will change the way you do business? I mean, do you think that this will be, hey, you know what? I really don't need an office. I don't need an office to go to. Like you said, you were more efficient. Do you feel that that's going to change, your law practice?
I certainly think that there are going to be many aspects that will change, and I think for the better because of this, in the sense that there are a lot of things that can be done virtually where you don't need to spend all the time traveling back and forth to certain places. For example, a lot of the non-substantive appearances at court can all be done virtually, and it saves a lot of time and a lot of hassle. Mediations can be done very effectively virtually through Zoom, because you can essentially create, uh, a virtual breakdown or a virtual conference room by breaking people into different breakout rooms and things like that. And you can really do all the same things virtually that you would be doing in person. The one thing that I hope doesn't change is trials. I think trials should always be in person if and when we are able to get back to that, because I think there's a number of problems with virtual trials. But outside of that, I think there are a lot of positives that can come from the virtual world that we've now seen work.
We just got a question here from Stu Fuchsman. What is your territory? Do you practice in New York? Uh, Obviously New Jersey, but do you practice in New York and Pennsylvania, or Connecticut, or are you limited?
I personally am only licensed in the state of New Jersey. I can practice anywhere in the state of New Jersey. In fact, in my near 10-year career, I've probably been to every county courthouse in the state of New Jersey at this point, or pretty close there too. In my firm, I believe there's one attorney who is licensed in New York, but she doesn't really practice in New York. Our bread and butter is really the state of New Jersey.
Well, good. So let's see. Let me ask you. I do apologize. I wrote these notes down. Um, what is your favorite aspect of family law? I mean, family law. I mean, obviously, a lot of time, most of the time, and correct me if I'm wrong. A lot of time, it's a split up of a family, husband and wife, kids, or whatever. Mutual partners and kids, and it's all break up, and it's really not a pleasant thing. So, tell me what your favorite aspect of the family law is.
Well, I'll start off by saying that you're absolutely right. It is, generally speaking, a very difficult area of the law. I will caveat that with saying that, on adoption day, that is one of the very few very happy days in my world. So if
It's
I can
very
help a
cool.
family go through that process, that is something that is, always, has a happy ending. But, you know, one of the things when I was law clerking, one of the judges did like an orientation speech, and she had a quote that always stuck with me throughout my whole career. That essentially said, in the criminal division, you're generally dealing with bad people at their best. In the family division, you're generally dealing with good people at their worst. And I think that's a very true statement. It has a lot of true sentiment to it, because you're generally dealing with, everyday normal people. That could be your neighbor, could be your brother, could be your sister-in-law, whatever the case may be. And they're just, they're going through one of the most difficult times in their life that they hopefully weren't planning on ever having to go through. In that sense, what I quote unquote like about the family law world is that I do get to help people, get through very difficult times, and I have had a lot of clientele who have expressed their gratitude for making that process easier. But more importantly, I guess on my end I love the fact that I've in 10 years I've never had the same case twice. never had the same day twice. Every day there's something different going on. Every case rests on its own fact. And it's not, you're not doing the same thing over and over again. And that lack of repetition for me personally is what I really like about it, because I'm not the type of person that could just do the same thing over and over and over again. That's not the way I operate.
Like Groundhog Day.
Exactly, which unfortunately is pretty much what this pandemic has been. Mine and many others people's worst nightmare of just feeling like you're doing the same thing over and over again. But that's one of the things I really like about it, is that yeah, I'm dealing with a lot of the same issues over and over again, but every case can be resolved differently, can turn based on one little nuance and a different set of facts, different set of circumstances, and finding out how those facts and circumstances change things is always very intriguing to me.
Great. So tell me your best success story. I mean, you've been doing this for 10 years and you're still a young attorney. So you got plenty of years ahead of you to get some good stories, maybe write that book. So I know that's always been a joke, but to write that book of all the things that went wrong and whatnot. So tell me one of your great success stories that, I don't know when it was or whatever, but I'm sure there's a good one.
Yeah, well, I'll answer that with two different answers. I'll answer directly the first question in the sense that my favorite success story. I mean, there's just so many to count, but I mean, what I consider a success, because this isn't really a world of wins and losses. You don't really win or lose a family law case. It can't be broken down into a quantitative amount in my view. But what I see as a success is when a client at the end of the day, at the end of the case, expresses appreciation in any sense of form. I mean, it's not so uncommon that I consider it rare, but it's not a foregone conclusion that a client will appreciate the work you do at the end of the case. So when it does happen, I think it's a very genuine sentiment being expressed by the client, and it's something that I very much appreciate, and it's certainly something that I absolutely consider a success story, because regardless of how the case ends up, or what the terms and provisions may be of a certain case, if the client is satisfied with the way that I represented them, that's really all I can ask for. And I hope that I do that in every single one of my cases, whether or not the client expresses the appreciation or not. But it certainly helps to hear that appreciation get articulated to you. Then to kind of answer a little more humorously the question, in the sense of like, what's that big war story, so to speak, or that the elephant in the room that was my career. So right now, my very first full divorce trial that I handled, as the primary chair on the trial, ended up being a 75 plus day trial up in Morris County, where everyone came to know and not exactly love me for showing up 75 days for trial. But I like to look back on that trial as getting the worst trial of my career out of the way early. I'm hopeful that is in fact the worst trial of my career, because I can't imagine them being any worse than that one. I mean, you can ask every matrimonial attorney in the state of New Jersey, whether they've been practicing 1 year or 40 years, a 75 plus day trial in our world is unheard of. And so the fact that I had got one within the first 6 or 7 years of practice hopefully means that I got my worst one out of the way nice and early.
Wow, that's got to be quite an experience. Can you share a little bit of why did it go 75 days? I mean,
I can't necessarily.
No, I'm not looking for your share.
But I mean, one of the primary things was that I mean, I always refer to that case as kind of like the law school hypothetical, in the sense that literally any issue that could ever come up in any matrimonial case ever in the state of New Jersey was somehow present in that case, and the parties somehow didn't agree on the resolution to that issue. So that's primarily one thing. And then the other thing that really derailed that particular case was we ended up having to go to the appellate division in the middle of the trial because of an issue or because of a decision that the judge had made that actually both sides didn't necessarily agree with how it was done or why it was done. So that really threw a wrench in the whole case as well. But I mean, there really is no, one thing that, drew it out that long. It was just a matter of there were so many issues, and these were literally the type of people that, wouldn't agree that today is Tuesday. I mean, they would find a way to somehow disagree on that. And, that happens from time to time. And those are the cases that ultimately have to go to trial because it takes two people to resolve a case. And generally speaking, it's usually not the attorneys that get in the way of a settlement. So,
Yeah.
it gets to it goes back to the old adage. I mean, it takes two to tango. So if you don't have the dance partner to get you to your resolution, then you have to fight it out in litigation. And, that's unfortunate, but it happens.
It's got to be tough. So I'm going to move in, and I'm going to integrate this question with another. But would you touch on how you got involved with BNI and what BNI has done for you and things of that nature? And then I'm going to ask you, I'm going to tag on to that a little bit more as to what you're looking for. So if
Certainly.
you could.
So I got started with BNI back in December of 2017. So coming up on 3 years now. And it was as simple as I got an invite and an invite to link up on LinkedIn with an individual who was the vice president of the chapter at that time, and he introduced himself, said, "Hey, we're looking to add a matrimonial attorney to our group. Is this something you might be interested in?" The general introduction and invitation that gets sent oftentimes. It literally came at a perfect time where I was literally in the process of trying to figure out some additional ways to market myself and try to build a book of business for myself personally. And so I decided to go and check out the group. I accepted the invitation. I went to one of the meetings, and I really liked the energy of the group. And, you're familiar with our group. It has a wonderful group of people that are very energetic, which isn't necessarily the first thing that I was expecting. When you get to a meeting of 20 to 30 people at 7 o'clock in the morning. So I really like that. And that was kind of what drew me in. And then once I became a member, I got involved with leadership, and I saw a direct impact on my bottom line. It increased my book of business. And in fact, in the meeting we had this morning, I think I can, represent that it has been at least 25 to 50% of my personal book of business. Each of the 3 years or so that I've been a member in BNI. And that's a very significant number, and that can be traced to the referrals that I get from this group and the connections that I've made because I've been a member of this group. Because you got to remember too. I mean, well, I don't have to. I'm preaching to the choir with you, but
Right.
One of the best things about this group is that it's not just the members in your group that can be part of your sales team or part of your referral network. It's all the people that you meet along the way, whether you substitute at another meeting, someone substitutes at your meeting, all the different training sessions you go to, and you get to see the quote unquote cream of the crop people in various different groups. So it's just a wonderful way to grow your network. And in my line of work, I mean, word of mouth referral marketing is how it's done. I mean, that's how I get almost all of my business is, by knowing somebody who knows somebody who needs me. And that's what I try to do to build my personal book of business is create a network that is as large as it can possibly be, because you never know where opportunities are going to present themselves.
Great. Well, tell me, what should people be listening for, looking for, whatever? How does it, family law attorney is not really, hey, you need a family law attorney. It's not something that just comes up. I saw you and Lorraine fighting last night. You were screaming in the middle of the street. Do you need a family law attorney? I mean, how does that come up?
Exactly, and that's kind of what I was alluding to earlier. Is that there's really no way or no target audience that I can direct marketing to, or that I can direct advertising dollars directly to. The way people find me and or utilize my services is, at least in my experience, is generally because they want to work with someone they trust. So they either have to know and trust me already, or they have to find out about me through somebody that they know and trust, and then therefore can trust me from the get-go, because it's not something, like I said, it's not something that you ever plan to use. It's not something that you're looking forward to using. And generally speaking, there's usually a very small window between when you realize you need my services and when you actually have to hire someone to to help you in that type of situation. So it's not something you can usually do a whole lot of shopping around on. And it's something that you really want to be comfortable with who you're working with as your attorney in this type of this type of situation. And because I do family law, I mean they're always going to be emotionally charged issues. And I specifically say family law because it's not just divorces that that we handle. It's any type of family law issue. And the more and more people that are having children, without being married, as that becomes less and less taboo and more common and things like that. I mean, there are a number of issues that that come up that have nothing to do with dissolving a marriage. I mean, you have the same child support, custody, parenting time issues with any child, regardless of whether the parents ever married or not. You're gonna have the same conversations about college costs and who's going to pay for what and this, that, and the other thing. So, it's really, I mean, that's the pro of, my potential market of users, is that it literally can be essentially anybody that could eventually need my services. But again, you don't necessarily know who it will be or when it will be that they need you. So that's why I say, having a network that I can rely on, that knows and trusts the work that I provide, is key, because you never know when an opportunity is going to present itself.
So,
And
Dan, tell me how. Tell me, how can someone get in touch with you? Would it be better for them to show up at that BNI Zoom meeting or to call you on the telephone?
Well, I mean, the showing up at the BNI Zoom meeting is probably the safest bet, because I'm going to be there every Tuesday morning at 7:00. So that's probably the safest guarantee. But the easiest way is to call the office and set up a consultation.
What's that phone number, Dan? Can you give us that phone number?
Certainly. The office line is 908-645-1000, 1000.
And how can people find you? Are you just Daniel Burton or Dan Burton, Esquire?
Daniel Burton is the safest way to find me. I think there's a politician out in Indiana who's got Dan Burton pretty much locked down on Google. So as long as you put in Daniel Burton and somehow connected to being an attorney, you should be able to find me. Or you can always type in the firm that I work for, which is Lawrence Law, which is a very easy website to find, lawfirm.com.
Okay, so the professionals that you would like to invite to our BNI chapter would be what? Is there a particular profession that you would like to see come and visit with us?
For me, the more attorneys that come check it out and become members, the better for me. Attorneys are such a perfect, natural referral source both ways for me, because anytime I hear of an issue that is outside of family law, I know I don't handle it. So if I have somebody that I know and trust that handles that type of issue, it's a very easy link to make, because it's somebody that I'm likely already working with. and then vice versa. I mean, someone who does an area of law that I don't do generally doesn't do family law. So those are the easiest, natural referral sources. I've found that estate planning attorneys and elder law attorneys, things of those natures, are very natural referral sources for me because we deal with clients that are dealing with a lot of the same or similar issues, and it's an easy way to refer business back and forth.
Well, that's good. So we're coming to our time. It's just about 7:30, and we've been online live for 30 minutes, and we thought you couldn't do it.
Time
So,
flies when you're having fun.
So let me just remind everybody, Dan and I meet at are one of 20-some individuals that meet every Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. We used to do it in person, but for right now, we're going to do it on Zoom. If you're ever looking for us, look me or Daniel up on BNI. You can find us there. We meet 7 o'clock on Zoom, and we have a link, or reach out to me directly, and I'll share that link, or with Dan, and we'll share a link if you want to come and visit. 20-some other people that will be able to help you with what you need and help you network and grow your business. We're the guys to reach out to. I want to thank everybody for watching this evening, and we really do appreciate your time. Dan, thank you very much for coming on board and telling us all about what you do and how we can help you grow your business.
Thank you very much for the invite. It was an absolute pleasure getting to talk to you, Jonathan.
Great. Thank you very much. We'll talk again soon.